Hey there, YouTube! My name is Tanis Fugit, and we are back here for another episode of Factorio. As I mentioned last time, this is going to be a series very similar to the Finish Line series that I have on Twitch, which I also cross-post here on YouTube, where I've tried to complete games that I never had an opportunity to finish myself, right? And using my stream and the YouTube as an opportunity to motivate me to actually complete these games, to really put actual time and energy into it. And so that's what we're doing here. And we're playing a game that I loved as soon as it was in early access. I fell in love with it immediately. Never actually beaten it. I've never gotten a successful rocket launch, but there are tons of other things in this game that I really want to get to eventually. All kinds of really cool mods and gameplay overhaul mods that I want to try. But first we got to beat the game. So that's where we're at. This is the second episode, and as a result, we've only just barely gotten started. We have our first couple of labs burning a little bit of red science that we made just in our hand, and we have a couple of basic... Oh, I grabbed the wrong thing. We have a couple of basic drills and furnaces making the most basic resources. Copper plates and iron plates, and they're consuming coal in order to do so, and that's pretty much just where we're at right now. I've also mined up a little bit of stone, which are needed to build the furnaces in the first place, but that's just where we're at, right? So what's the next step? The next step is being able to make this red science not in my own hand. I don't want to do this on my own. I want to be able to take things like, so for instance, if I take this away, I want to be able to take things, whoops, let's actually make a bunch of these transport belts. I want to be able to take these transport belts, right, and take this copper. I'm actually being very dumb right now. What am I talking about? Hold on. I apologize. I do know what I'm trying to say. I'm just doing it out of order here. No, we want to put the furnaces back. Instead, we want to take things out of the... This is going to be these guys. There we go. Now I know what I'm doing. Apologies. It's been a little while since I've started a game from scratch. These need electricity. So again, remember last time we set up offshore water pumps and steam engines to enable us to carry electricity. Boom. Now we have copper plates that are filling up a transport belt. They're being pumped immediately from the drill into the furnace. The furnace is turning the ore into pure copper plates. And once the plates are ready to go, they're being dropped by these inserters onto this belt, which is carrying it along until it can't carry it along any further. So what do we want to do with that? What do we want to do with the copper? Well, let's extend this out this way, just to show you what we're going to do with it. First, we're going to make a few more of these inserters, and then we're going to make these assembly machines. I'll make a couple of them, in fact. I'm going to set my assembly machines down here. Oh, I set the inserters over here. That's right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up an assembly machine right here. Right? And we're going to take an inserter, and we're going to have it put these copper plates into this assembly machine, right? And of course they both need electricity. That's what this flashing yellow is. They both need electricity, so let's attach them to the electrical grid. And we're gonna now tell this, if we click on the assembly machine, it says select a recipe for assembling. We need to tell it what it's making, right? And in fact, actually I've decided I don't want to do this on top because I've got to put it down here. So what we're gonna do is actually we're gonna put it, we're gonna put it here. And we're going to output here, and we're going to input here. Okay. This is all going to have to change eventually. But, you know, it needs to make copper cables. So here's what's happening now. These copper plates are coming along until they're being grabbed by this assembly arm and stuck into this assembly machine. Once the machine has it, it's turning it into copper wire, copper cable. And then it's sticking that cable out onto another belt where it can go somewhere else. Now, I also have iron down here, which we're going to do something very similar. I have to do it like this because these are offset from each other a little bit. We're going to take this out a little bit, and we're going to go right here. Again, we need to make more of these inserters, and we should probably make more of these transport belts. And again, all of this needs more stuff, so I'm just going to keep grabbing iron plates. I'm going to keep grabbing coal from over here. I'm going to keep grabbing copper plates from over here, so I can continue producing as much of this stuff as possible. We go up and in, up and in, and then we start going back the other way. And so now we need electricity again. So let's expand our electrical grid. Now it's going to get dark here, and the recording might suffer a little bit from it because this game does have a day-night cycle. You are making these iron gear wheels, right? And as that makes the gear wheels, you'll see it also drops it onto the transport belt. So now if I take the transport belt and I extend it out here, and again, we can make a bunch of these transport belts. So now I've got iron gear wheels here, and I've got copper plates up here, both of which are the components needed for... Oh, I'm actually dumb. Just needs copper plates. Okay, well, this is where the... Okay, so that's fine. That's not a big deal. It's a little bit annoying, but it's not the biggest deal in the world, because it just means that I made a small error in setting up how this is going to work. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to make another one of these assembly machines. We're going to make them right here. And actually, we're going to extend this out just a little bit so that we're not interfering with the coal patch. I'm going to set this up here. I'm going to create a inserter arm. Actually, let's create a couple more of these just so that we've got them. Go here. This is, of course, a little bit annoying with the electricity because it's close to being on the grid, but wasn't quite, so we had to make one more tile. Go out. And this is going to start going this way. So this is going to produce my red science. Now you see it needs plates, so I can just manually stick in a whole bunch of plates here. Is that ideal? Absolutely not. And we will eventually want to set up a system whereby this, you know, factory, this assembly machine is getting the copper automatically instead of us having to hand it over. And you see, here's the little bit of red science on the belt coming up. And by the way, you can zoom really far out here. You don't have to play zoomed out. You can like zoom in. You can actually zoom in way too close. You can actually zoom in way too close. So it's unnecessary, but you know, you can. So again, with these inserter arms, we are just going to go ahead and pump the science right into here. And now this is automated mostly. Again, there's still the step where this is, you know, it's just, I just manually handed it a bunch of copper plate. So it's not ideal, but it is happening more or less automatically. Now these things still need... All these things still need coal. So you might imagine that the first step in, you know, automating this is to make sure that all these things are getting coal. And that is absolutely the case. Making sure all of these things are getting the coal that they need to run efficiently and not ever stop running. Is one of the early things that we're going to set up. But in order to do that, you'll notice that there's actually an electric mining drill in here. Since we're using electricity, we don't ever have to have these sort of burner drills creating, you know, spending coal in order to generate things. We can just, you know, spend electricity, which in turn is created by coal. Oh, and we're having our first encounter with the biters. This is the part of the game I do not like, as mentioned before. This is my least favorite part of this game, and you just saw why. All right, so stuff is broken, so now we've just got to go in and basically redo everything that we just did before. We lost some progress, and unfortunately, that's just all there is to it. This is not a part of the game that I think is good, and that's why I set certain things. You can actually turn biters completely off. I don't think that's the correct option. But I do play on a rail world, and I'd use the fill for me. And what that does is it makes it so is that the rail world makes it so is that once I clear out a base of these biters, they don't ever come back. And fill for me makes it so is that once we have turrets, I can just run up to the base and drop a bunch of turrets, and the fill for me automatically loads them with bullets instead of me having to do it by hand. All right, there's logistics finished. So the next thing I'm actually going to do is, well, I'm going to set military to give me access to like submachine guns and shotguns. And then the next thing after that will probably be gun turrets. Once I have gun turrets and a bunch of bullets, yeah, see it broke all of the drills. Well, I mean that's fine because we were about to change the way that we did mining anyway, so it's actually not that big a deal. I just get annoyed by it. So actually, I didn't need to go down and mine stone manually by hand. There's a whole bunch just sitting here. So we're going to make a couple of... I'm going to make some stone furnaces in my hand, but I'm also going to make electric mining drills. Yeah, we lost all the copper plate that was in here. I mean, it is very frustrating, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So we're going to go ahead and select electric mining drills here. And so what's these drills? So these drills run on electricity instead of being run on coal power. That means that if I stick one, you know, here and then one here, you see that they're actually like, they have a footprint around them as I go to place them, right? They actually don't just extract like on the squares that they're on. They actually extract from around themselves in one square. So you can sort of space them out like this a bit, right? And so I'm actually going to go ahead and remove this stone furnace. I'm going to remove this, remove power poles. We're going to remove this guy, that power pole, remove this power pole. Military finished. All right, so we'll be able to make stuff. With that and that, you should be connected, and there, connects everything together. Okay. We're going to take these things. We're going to go. Okay. Actually, let's send them the other direction. Because, oh, and it's happening again now down here. See, this is the warning that we hate. This is a terrible warning. Okay, so you can make these repair packs to fix these things up once they're damaged, because you see this came very close to being destroyed. So we finished up with military. The next thing I'm going to turn on is gun turrets. Once you have gun turrets up, you can, they're like automatic and they don't, the enemy can't get through them as effectively. So now we need to set up, I don't have any of these on the board. There we go. Do that. Let's do this. I need more of those. Yeah, logistics finished, so we have more of these, and then obviously this finished, so we have more of these. Between military finishing and logistics finishing, we've got a bunch of new stuff that we can play around with. Yeah, that's unfortunate. A lot of this stuff is going to have to come up as we sort of expand. So. You still need coal to continue functioning, but yeah. Good enough. Gun turrets are done. Okay. With gun turrets being done, the next thing we're going to move on to is, I think, we do stone walls probably. Walls help set up so that the turrets don't get hit while they're fighting the biters. The biters have to chew through the walls before they can chew through anything else. So now this is now more or less automated. Again, these need coal, but they're on their way to being automated. So, and we're going to try and do a similar thing down here, but here's what we're going to do first. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, how do you know? Oh, because you're putting it on the thing. I can just pick things up right off the belt, by the way. So as I'm walking over the belt, if I hold F, I just pick up the plates right off the belt. Stone wall's already done. I'm going to take physical projectile damage 1. It's going to make my bullets hit harder. As the game progresses, as time goes on, the biters do get stronger. They hit harder. They take more shots to kill them, so you want to keep your damage scaling up. Let's see. So what do I want to do first? So the process of automation has a lot of steps to it. The first step, so I'm going to actually pause here to sort of talk about the idea of automation. So this is how we want to go. I want the iron and copper to be smelted, and then that's smelted, the result of the smelting is going to be those plates. And then we have to send those plates to places where they're going to get worked on, where they get turned into the stuff that we need to turn them into. That's the overarching idea. So how are we going to do that? Well, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to build a whole bunch, stone walls, which require stone bricks, by the way, which means that I would need to take the stone that I'm like mining out of the ground that I've got here, and I actually have to put it in furnaces to turn it into bricks. That doesn't happen automatically. So in order for me to put up walls, I actually do need to like work with my stone a little more. So I also picked up gun turrets. Part of me is thinking what I actually want to do is make a few gun turrets. Although I don't really have any bullets right now. Yeah, so I think the first thing I want to do is make lots of furnaces. Lots and lots of furnaces. Thankfully, there's a lot of stone up here to help me out with that. So I'm actually going to dig up a bunch of these rock formations. And we're going to create a bunch of furnaces. So we're going to start by setting up my iron smelting. Iron smelting. So that's going to be a whole operation in and of itself, just smelting iron. How's that going to work? Well, you'll see. Basically, I'm going to create a whole bunch of furnaces, and we're going to line them up in a couple of different rows. And then we're going to set up a bunch of these transporter belts so as that they can be fed with raw iron, the iron ore, and coal. We're going to feed them with both of these things. Really need more iron production, I think. We might need to do that first. Actually, I think we might need to do that for... How the hell did a single transporter belt end up down here? How the hell did that happen? Okay. So how is this going to work? I think the first thing I actually want is more drills. I've got... Really, I'm just short on iron here. So we just need to make more... Here. I'm going to dismantle these here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because that means that I have now 4 of these in my inventory. And I'm going to like set them up over here as just like... There we go. So you're just going to create iron that I can just use, right? It's not going to be part of this whole system. It's just going to be on its own. You guys are going to create iron plates that I can make use of in order to create these electric mining drills and the stone furnace setup. So after they are, I should expand this way. I think there's a lot of open land this way. This should be like where iron smelting happens, somewhere out here, I think. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up a couple rows of furnaces. I'm gonna go like, I'm putting a space between them. You don't really need to like understand why that is, but I am, just be aware that I am putting a space between them on purpose. So 2, 3, 2, 3, yeah, that's correct. I have done this like before, so I have a reason for doing all of this. Okay. Oh, power went out. That's because we actually ran out of coal. So all this flashing red tells me that there's no power, no electricity going to these items. Yeah, you can see it's like it's happening up here as well. The reason this is happening is because if I were to go back over here to our fuel pump setup, you will find that the boiler is out of coal. If we stick more coal in the boiler, it starts sending more steam into the steam engines. The steam engines turn and we have power and everything's working again. That also needs to be automated. So I'm going to make a bunch of these transport belts, and I'm going to make a couple of splitters and a couple of underground belts. We're going to say splitters go here, underground belts go here. The splitters split what's on a belt. You can see the belts have a left and a right. The splitter will take things and they'll send it down 2 different paths, right? So if I need this iron to go 2 different places, I simply grab a splitter and I do that. The underground belt lets things go under other things. So I can set an underground belt 1 entry here, 1 entry over here, and it will pass under this without interfering with this, right? They won't interfere with each other. That's extremely important in understanding this game, how to deal with the various logistic challenges of this game. Very, very important. So obviously I'm leaving spaces for inserters. That's one of the big things that's happening here is I'm leaving room for inserters. I'm not actually sure. I think I'll have to like I'll have to chop down a bunch of these trees, unfortunately. Because I need space to like actually send this stuff around, and there isn't any space here. Because it's gonna be mined out of this field, and then it's got to be sent over here. So actually, do I not? Oh, the reach lets me chop trees from across the map. No, it doesn't. I thought it was actually giving me like increased range to do that at. Doesn't seem to be the case. Okay, so this cliffside is actually going to make this a little bit frustrating. Oh yeah, it is actually giving me. Yeah, I am able to. Yeah. Okay, so the reach mod is letting me do this. I didn't know that that was a thing that it did, but going to have to. This is going to be a little bit awkward. But I think I can make it work. Oh, so yeah, by the way, your character gets moved by the belts. If you like stand on them, you'll move along it. And if you put one under you, then yeah, you'll get sort of dragged along by it. Actually pretty funny at times. Again, we're out of power. Unfortunately, I'm not mining because I used my burner drills. I'm actually going to make a few more burner drills. I have one in my inventory, so I'm going to make 3 more. And we're going to make these electric drills. We have got the burner drills, so we're just going to stick the burner drills sort of over here in the side again. The last one you see, it actually took wood out of my inventory. You actually see the pop-up when it happens. That's actually not good. I don't want it to do that because it can only accept one kind of fuel at once, so it actually sort of breaks the loop if it's got coal in, or if it's got wood in it. I guess that doesn't really matter, but it matters to me. All right, and once again, oh, well, we actually need to pick up some of that coal. And now we can bring it back to over here where it got used up again. Actually, I can do this from a great distance, so I might as well just do it from here. I'm still not used to playing with the reach mod. Let's see, how many more? No, can't make this. Okay, now we can make a few. Trying to get it to... There we go. Backed up there. Okay. So now I need to think about how I do the other part of this, which is the coal. I gotta think about how I'm supposed to do the coal part of this. That would work. Right, because then I put an underground belt. Like, there. And so now what'll happen is if that's got coal on it. So again, the belts have 2 sides. This is the important like logistic point here. The belts have a left and a right side. So from these belts that are all going in these directions, iron's going to come from here and is going to be on the outside lines. Coal's going to come from here and will be on the inside line. So these guys will have access to raw iron and coal as needed. And then they'll put the finished product on the middle bar here, and that'll just run up and out. I had so many copper plates in my inventory, I don't need to grab more. We're gonna make... So since I'm not going for the, like, lazy bastard achievements, I'm just happy to making stuff in hand, and I should be constantly making stuff in hand just to speed up all these various processes. We're going to start setting up these electric miners. So here's the difficult part of this, is that you don't want to accidentally mix your resources, right? Like if I plop this guy here, he will be spitting out some amount of iron and some amount of stone, right? Because it's overlapping. You got to be careful about where you put down your resource extractors. You want to like be as efficient as possible with that. Oh, I think I introduced too much space. Certainly did. I certainly left too much space there. There's only supposed to be one space between them. Yeah, that's perfect. Could like pull these up and continue this across. Might need to cut down a tree or two. Maybe, I don't even think I needed to do that exactly, but... Okay. Again, power. Always important. Keep your eye on how the power system works. So in this case, actually, what we're going to do is, because these guys are going to need a bunch of power, I'm going to start from here. I'm not sure if that'll get everyone. That definitely will. And then these things are going to need power. So we're going to go one here, and then we go every other one, I think? Or do we have to go every one? Does it not connect if it's every other one? Oh, no, it does. It just wasn't showing me the graphic. I thought it did for every other one. And we have to do it from the back, from the bottom as well. Okay, and now we can connect this bit of like monstrosity to our actual power grid. There it is. Okay. Now again, this isn't doing anything yet because it's not fully connected, but I think you can understand and see the skeleton of what we're doing here. Oh, you're right. That actually didn't connect for you, huh? That's very frustrating. There it is. That worked. That's a better spot for it. And so many burner stuff that we shouldn't really be using. A lot of burner stuff we really shouldn't still be using, but I had to go back to... I've got so many copper plates. Stop taking copper plates. Coal is what I actually need. There we go. All right. Now we can start this. And this can be interesting because with coal doesn't need to be processed in any way. Coal is just automatically what it needs to be. And that can be interesting because that means that you have some options on how you want it to go. Instead of like iron, because all iron needs to be processed. So the first thing you got to do for iron is always get it to some kind of processing. For coal, that's not inherently true. So with coal, you can do something like where instead of all of the miners are connected to like one big group, you can have some miners, some coal miners that are sending their coal to like one section, some coal miners that are going to be like over here that are sending it up towards, you know, copper instead, right? And you can sort of play around a bit in that way. You can already see how we've only been at this for, you know, maybe an hour or so. And it's already starting to come together. Again, power needs to be distributed over here. But again, there is no power to be had. We got to go over here again. Let's just zoom out and do it from a distance. And boom, we're now going to see power. We're now going to see coal. You can see it's already starting to trickle down the line here. It's coming from the miners. It's being sent down the line. And it will be available to these furnaces. So that's the idea for iron smelting. The only thing that's missing right now, we're just about to add it here, is these inserter arms. Which, as I go ahead and add them, you should like immediately start to like understand what's happening here, which is that, you know, it's going to grab iron and... Oh, I put the things in the wrong way. There we go. That was not working very well. But now you should see, like, you know, raw iron and coal are now available for the furnaces. The furnaces will cook them and they will send it up. And you can probably understand that, you know, there will be an opportunity in the future to send more coal down here, and we can actually, like, you know, increase the amount of coal that's going to this. We can also split these off and send these to multiple rows of this, right? So we can have a bunch of different coal lines coming down, each one servicing a different, like, leg of this production chain, right? And we can have a bunch of these miners sending out to different legs as well, right? And in the future, when this whole resource node is destroyed, when we've mined it all out, as you can see, we're already starting to mine out some chunks over here where I specifically set these guys on these like extreme arms because I want to dig these out sooner, right? Once we've mined all this out, the next step is that this gets turned into a train depot, and the train drops raw iron here. And instead of it being mined here, we just drop it off here and we send it over here anyway. Right? That's how this is going to go. So yeah, that's the idea here. We've started our we started our dance towards automation and towards smelting of iron. And so for that, I say thank you for stopping in. My name is Tanis Fugit. Thank you for stopping in at the Fugitive Theater, and as always, I will see you next time. Bye, guys.